So when you're trying to play faster, you may be looking into, like, trying to use your fingers. You may see drummers using their fingers. So rather than just using the wrist to, like, play fast, they're using their fingers to play even faster. So, and you may find it's like all wrists get you so far, but fingers, you can see you can get a lot quicker with it. But it's like, how do you get into that? It feels a little uncomfortable. So you're probably gonna have to take a step back, and your drumming is gonna have to, like, sound a little bit rubbishy while you practice this, but sometimes you've got to kind of go through that to then be able to play it better. But with the fingers, what you're trying to do is kind of like dribbling a basketball. I mean, if I take the stick here and I just hold it with 2 fingers and I just dribble the stick, kind of like a basketball, you can see I'm throwing the stick down, but I'm not pulling the stick back up. That's what we tend to do with our wrists. We kind of bring them back up, and that's wasting energy. So like throwing a basketball down, you throw it down, you don't then pull the basketball up and down and up. So it's down, down, and you can see just trying to let it bounce, holding it nice and relaxed in our hand. But what we're doing is, you can see when that side of the stick goes down, other side of the stick comes up. So we're actually doing this exercise here, which you can see you can get pretty quick. You're doing it underneath the stick. Basically do the same thing, but rather than using your other hand, you're using these 3 fingers. So again, thumb and your first finger there, and then these 3 fingers are kind of pulling the stick and gets you into that grip there. Remember to hold nice and relaxed. Okay, and trying to get the hang of that. I actually taught this to someone years ago, and they actually went, I think it was like a pub quiz or something that evening, and they sat there and worked on this, and they got really fast. And the exercise that they did was, rather than throwing the stick down and using the fingers to hit the drum, I taught them to try and, like, do it over their shoulder. So they have it up in the air, and you can see gravity pulls the stick back, and the fingers pull the stick down there. And it's the same motion, just reversed. So rather than using the bounce of the drum, you're using gravity to practice this in a silent way. So you can kind of work on that without actually making any noise, and just get that finger technique down. So you don't need to be behind your drums to do this. And that there trains the fingers up. You can actually, like, work on individual fingers, try and strengthen them up a little bit there. So just try. So again, always holding it between those 2, but working on the other fingers, and just get used to that motion. And then when you come back to the drum, it's the same kind of thing. And that's going to help you to play some. You see, I'm just using it for various things. You will always mix the fingers in with wrist strokes. So you might do some fingers. So like the bigger things, you're using your wrists and the kind of upper arm as well. But the faster stuff, see, when I'm going faster, I'm kind of accessing the fingers. When I'm going for the slower, loud stuff, okay, and like, say, a ride pattern, so rather than just going 1 and 2 and wrist, 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 if you go for the faster things, so especially like a group of 3 or more groups, I tend to bring the fingers in there. Wrist. So you can actually mix it. Okay, and there's other hand techniques you can get into, but this is the thing. You're trying to learn all of these different techniques, and then you use them together in the same way. If you have a load of tools, you use those tools in different ways to create stuff. So if you're trying to build a shed and you only have a hammer, you're going to struggle. You probably get by, but it'd be helpful if you also have a screwdriver, some screws, a wrench, a wrecking ball, a flamethrower. I don't know how to build a shed, but that's the kind of thing. It's the same thing on the drums. This is just another technique to try and work on, and then trying to interlace them. You can start by trying to get them, like, at the same time, and then try and get them separate. So one and the other, and that's just a case of starting slow, gradually speeding it up, and that's how you can start working on your finger technique.